Last year's Venom marked the first entry within the Spider-Man cinematic universe that did not feature our friendly neighborhood web crawler. Fan-favorite villain Venom was turned into an anti-hero, and the film made over $850 million at the box office. This is why it really shouldn't be too surprising that a sequel was announced shortly after that achievement. We would now like to talk about this upcoming sequel, and of course, its villain. This is why I'm issuing a spoiler warning. You have been warned.
We are Venom.
Venom 2. The sequel to Venom comes to no surprise given the massive financial success of the first film. But even before that achievement, Tom Hardy already confirmed to have signed on for 3 feature films in total. That means we will at least get to see his Eddie Brock 2 more times. Director Ruben Fleischer will however not return for the sequel. Writer Kelly Marcel, on the other hand, will once again be responsible for the script.
Much better.
Venom 2 is rumored to hit theaters next year in October. After all, an untitled Sony Marvel sequel is scheduled to be released around that time. And since the first Venom was released last October, it seems very likely that this mystery project is in fact Venom 2. The interesting thing regarding the sequel is the fact that we already know who the symbiote from outer space will go up against. During the mid-credits scene, we saw Eddie Brock visiting a dangerous prison inmate, a certain Cletus Cassidy, who comic book fans immediately recognized as the alter ego of supervillain Carnage. Woody Harrelson, who plays the character in the mentioned scene, has already confirmed to return for the next film. And this is why we will now discuss the character of Cletus Cassidy and why Spider-Man might have a cameo appearance in Venom 2.
There's gonna be carnage.
Cletus Cassidy. The story of Cletus Cassidy isn't exactly a nice one. Since the day he was born, his life was shrouded in darkness. After all, he was born in the Ravencroft Institute, Marvel's answer to DC's Arkham Asylum. Cletus was a violent child who killed his grandmother by pushing her down the stairs. He even tried to kill his own mother but failed. Eventually, he lost her anyways to his father, who killed her since she was not willing to help him in court by testifying in his favor. After that incident, Cletus was sent to an orphanage, but even there he didn't exactly behave like a little angel. Quite the contrary, actually. Since he was a bit of a recluse, he was constantly picked on by other children, and even some of the staff members joined in. But Cletus was eventually able to get back at them in his very own way. He killed one of the staff members and even pushed a young girl in front of a bus, since she wasn't going to go out with him. Eventually, he ended up burning the entire orphanage down to the ground.
Now, who doesn't love fire?
Ever since that incident, he started to wreak havoc whenever he felt like it. He saw ultimate freedom in the bloodshed and chaos he caused, and his twisted mindset convinced him that he was freeing the people he murdered from the burden of even existing. And these messed up ideas turned him into a notorious serial killer. At some point in time, he was convicted for the murder of 11 people in total and ended up in Rikers prison. There he shared a cell with none other than Eddie Brock. And this is where the story of Carnage begins.
I'll catch you later for dessert.
Carnage. You're probably wondering how Eddie Brock ended up in that prison. Well, when he originally began his career as Venom, Eddie was a proper supervillain and one of Spider-Man's arch enemies who tried to kill Parker. But he failed and ended up in jail. To be more precisely, he shared a prison cell with Cletus Cassidy. But the symbiote Venom found Eddie in his cell and helped him escape. Unbeknownst to Brock, though, Venom left a present for Cletus, a symbiote offspring that attached itself to Cletus, turning him into Carnage.
Hi, Eddie.
Hey.
The mid-credits scene from Venom showed us more or less how Eddie and Cletus met one another. Eddie wants to write an article about him and thus visits him in his jail cell. This could have been the start of the future transformation from Cletus into Carnage.
Sure is good with me.
The power of the symbiote drives the already unhinged Cletus completely insane, and this insanity enhances his abilities and powers in return. Carnage's powers are similar to those of Venom, but he is much stronger. When Spidey encounters Carnage for the very first time in the comic books, he's not able to beat him. In his most desperate hour, he turns to his arch nemesis Venom for help, hoping they can defeat this brand new evil together.
Brock, I need Brock's help.
This is why Venom 2 could potentially feature Spider-Man in a cameo role. Facing Carnage alone might be too much for Venom, and in the film version he might ask Spidey for assistance.
All right. Not that you'll be much help, but I can't do this alone. We're partners.
2 against 1 might sound easy, but Carnage must not be underestimated. As his bloodlust increases, so does his power. And one should notice that Cletus and his symbiote have a much stronger bond than Eddie and Venom. The only ways to defeat him is to either expose him to heat or a certain sound frequency. Carnage is the perfect antagonist for Venom and could turn the sequel into a violent action extravaganza. Fans have their fingers crossed for an R rating, in order to do the violent nature of the character justice.
So many snacks, so little time.
What do you think of Carnage? Are you looking forward to Venom 2? Let us know in the comment section below. And for more original content, check out these videos.